I was fed up with the intimidation, the verbal abuse, enabling, the threats, and isolation. Because I didn't look physically abused, they weren't helping. It was just hard work. It was just hard work. What, does someone have to die?
I would like to start by acknowledging that our recording today is done on Darkinjung land. I acknowledge and pay my respect to the elders past, present and emerging, and I would like to extend this acknowledgement and pay my respects to Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander peoples listening today.
This recording may contain some content that listeners find distressing and it may be triggering for some people. If you are impacted by anything you hear today, please don't hesitate to seek support. Hi, my name is Sasha and I'm a solicitor with the Elder Abuse Service. And I've got
Lynn McLennan here, the social worker in the Elder Abuse Service.
Today we're going to be speaking with one of our clients. Her name is Peg, and we've changed her name for the purposes of this podcast, about her experience with elder abuse and how we were able to support her through that process and get her to a point of safety. During today's podcast, you'll be hearing the conversation we have had with Peg, alongside a conversation that Lynn and I will be having separately with one another to flesh out some of the broader issues around elder abuse and trauma. Peg has had a lifetime worth of trauma. She has experienced domestic abuse from a young age, firstly from her father, then from her husband, and then from her son. And that is the point where she reached out for support from us and our service. The clients that come through the EAS usually have a history of trauma. We've been working with Peg for a long time, and she was one of the clients willing to share her trauma history with us, which is not always the case with our clients for a number of reasons. Anything from fear, shame, stigma, guilt, embarrassment, cultural reasons, and a varied history of working with services.
Well, that's right, Sasha. There is a lot of stigma, fear and shame built into sharing our trauma history. Peg has had years of counselling and continues to receive counselling, which allowed her to speak with us and tell us the ways that she would like to be supported when she's sharing her story. We don't always have clients that have this level of insight, so when working with clients, we have to be mindful that not only may they have a trauma history, but they are currently experiencing trauma. Elder abuse is traumatic. It is psychologically overwhelming, and people experience a multi-layered emotional and somatic response to elder abuse. When people experience multiple traumas in their life, it is harder to bounce back to a baseline. So when we add ageing issues to the process, like loss of capacity, chronic and ongoing health issues, loss of mobility, leading to isolation, the need for care and supports at home, then the baseline shifts and we become less resilient.
Thanks, Lynn. I just thought it was really important to also say that Peg wanted to share her trauma history story as part of the context of her life. And while this podcast isn't the platform for us to delve too deeply into that history with her, we have done so extensively in past conversations with her. Thank you so much for coming in today, Peg. We really appreciate it. Look, I think today we just want to hear from you a little bit about your story. You've got a really incredible history and you've been through so much and you've overcome it with some great supports. And we just think it would be really beneficial if everyone could hear what it's been like and be inspired by you in the same way that we're inspired by you. So would you like to maybe start by letting us know a little bit about your history, and then we can get into, I guess, what brought you to us?
Well, I made my first call at the age of 9 to Triple Nought because I was touched by my father. That's very young and very sad. My mother was dying in hospital with a cerebral hemorrhage. They removed, there was 3 blood clots on the brain. They removed 2. The other one was too close to the brain. So I had to look after my mother from the age of 9. I become her mother. and my brother at the age of 7. You got to remember back in 1969 there was no Centrelink carers allowances back then. So I had to make the best money the best way I could. So I thought, I'm 9-year-old and I developed quickly. I didn't look 9 or 10-year-old. So I thought now, no Centrelink, no social security. What am I going to do to look after my mother and my brother? My father did a runner because he was scared to death. So I hit the cross and done what you call dirty dancing. And here I am back again, 56 years later, still dialing 000.
So you grew up quite quickly.
Yes, I did. Yes, I was 9-year-old, 1969.
But also, you took on the role of carer and provider.
Yeah, I did. I had to because back then there was no carers.
Yeah.
Back then. My grandmother used to call me every day, every night. She knew what was going on. But she had 16 children of her own. And quite often we had the telephone line, which was a great advantage because back then a lot of people didn't have that, which we had that. And my grandmother would send, if I was crying and that, she would send an auntie down to pick us all up and take us back to her house. But we had to come home eventually and I had to continue my life. I'm looking after my mother and my brother. I didn't go to school from year 3.
I can't imagine losing your childhood so young in life. You became a carer and in the process lost your education.
Yeah, like I never had it. I'm not educated, self-taught to read, but very good at sports.
And at what age did you then meet your husband? So you had all that history of having to be a carer, having to be a provider, looking after your family.
The Star Hotel.
Okay.
In
the
Hunters
famous
Street.
Star Hotel.
Yeah, the famous Star Hotel.
Wow.
I know.
Tell us, what's
That's
that
where
story?
I met him.
Okay.
That's where he picked me up. I was dancing in the bar back in 1979. Yeah, he taught me to read.
Okay. So he was a bit of a saviour maybe at that point.
At that time.
Yeah.
At that time, he was a saviour, yeah. Yeah.
Was your mum still alive at that point?
Yes, she lived right until 2017.
So you remained her carer all that time?
I honoured her.
Yeah.
I looked after her.
That shows a lot about your character.
Yeah, look, I honoured my mother. She was a handful.
In what way?
In what way? Well, she had to have a lot of medication. She was a child herself. I used to see her argue with my children over a packet of chips.
Right.
To the extent of tearing them apart. I wasn't allowed to visit my mother at the hospital at the time.
When it first happened, you mean?
Yeah, when I was 9, back in 1969. I was too young, they said.
Okay.
So all I've been told is my mother had a cerebral hemorrhage. I was there when she was playing tennis. Okay, and it was caused from high blood pressure. But all I was told of my aunties, it was caused from the pill, contraception of the pill.
Yeah, I have heard that in the past.
High dosage back in the day.
And did she collapse on the field?
Playing tennis, very good tennis player.
Right.
Very good tennis player.
So that would have been quite traumatic in itself, on top of all the other traumas that you experienced in your life.
Yes, it's been horrible.
And I understand your husband was a very violent person as well.
Yes, well, he was. Yeah, he was a violent man.
Yeah. So, Peg, you're always been a warrior, a fighter.
Yes, it's just in the bloodline, I think.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Shows a lot of strength, that resilience that you have.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah.
Lynn, can we talk a bit more about what resilience looks like with our clients? It's not always the same, is it?
Before we do that, I'd like to just say and explain what resilience is. So it refers to our mental and emotional ability to react and recover from adversity. But it can take another event like elder abuse or failing health or a triggering incident for our clients' resilience to diminish. So I just want to touch on using the word resilience with our clients. Psychiatrist Dr. Bruce Perry is a leading researcher in the field of trauma, and he talks about resilience being a transient state. Our clients might come to us seeming resilient, strong, able to function, but added traumas and stresses, such as elder abuse, can deteriorate someone's ability to cope.
So I guess what you're saying is it's important that we're really mindful of that, because the clients that are coming to us are currently experiencing a level of trauma with elder abuse. They're actively in a trauma state, and that is what it could look like. There could be physical, psychological, financial, emotional, and sexual abuse. Predominantly, the perpetrators of this abuse are family members, typically an adult child, which comes with quite a complex dynamic in itself because it involves family.
That's right, Sasha. Elder abuse is a complex issue in our society that is multi-layered and includes compounding issues like trauma and family dynamics. It is also underpinned by societal views on ageing that includes the thought that older people have diminished capacity and family know what's best for them.
Absolutely, Lynn. We often say that elder abuse has all the components of domestic violence with the added complexities that come with aging, including cognitive decline, deteriorating physical health, reliance on others for care, and social isolation. So we're always really mindful of that when interacting with our clients.
So tell us a bit more about your son. You have spoken previously to us about his history of drug use. Do you want to share more about what that experience was like?
I was mortified. It was broke my heart, because I just thought, now, who done that? Who would have enticed this little educated boy with a Christian education? What happened?
Peg would like to now share a poem that she has written about her son's experience with drugs, which cuts to the heart of the experiences that she has faced with him and what's led her to our service. Peg has pre-recorded this on her phone, so you will hear a difference in the recording.
I destroy homes. I tear families apart. I'll take your children, and that's just a start. I'm more costly than diamonds, more precious than gold. The sorrow I bring is a sight to behold. If you need me, remember, I'm easy to find. I live around you, in schools and in town. I live with the rich. I live with the poor. I even live down the street, and maybe next door. I'm made in the lab, but not how you think. I can even be made under a kitchen sink, in a wardrobe, even in the bush, in a line locker. If this scares you to death, well, it certainly should. I have many names, but there's one you know best. I'm sure you've heard of me. My name is Crystal Meth. My power is awesome. Try me. You'll see. But if you do, you may never break free. Just try me once, and I might let you go. But try me twice, and I'll own your body and soul. Amen. I nearly started crying then. Just listening to it. Because it's so true. Yeah. And I wrote a lot more than that, but I thought that's enough. Because I had no idea that 2 decades ago that my son was on that.
And did his behaviour change towards you? What was that like?
Controlling. Especially when his father died. He wanted to take his role and wanted to take over, thought it was his property.
Your home?
Yeah. He thought it was all going to be his. He even tried to kick myself and my daughters out of my own house. I had a solicitor call me and say, I've just had your son here demanding that I take on a case to kick you out your own home. So he showed the computer to my son and said, "You can see your father's name's nowhere on this title." So that's where it all came from. He thought he would just take over where Daddy left. But that wasn't going to be the case. That's when I just got harder and just was fighting and fighting for it.
Yeah.
And protecting my daughters. But he had all intentions of just kicking me out of my property and my daughters.
So once he realised he couldn't do that, what happened then?
What happened then? Well, he just kept indulging.
Mm-hmm.
And then he got in trouble with the police.
Yep.
And then went away.
Mm-hmm. In prison, yeah.
9 years maximum is heavy stuff. And then begged me, after all that, to help him. So I mortgaged my house. It cost me over $60,000.
We see this a lot, don't we, Lynn? That constant struggle our clients face between helping their children and also wanting to protect their own needs and feel safe.
Yeah, Sasha, it's a real tough one. The issue is so multi-layered because we're working with parents and children, where children are often the perpetrators of the violence, and unlike marriage, you can't divorce your children.
Well, that's it. You can't always just walk away and not look back. And often our clients, despite the abuse, they don't want to do that anyway. They want to maintain a relationship most of the time, which is what makes it so hard.
That's right, Sasha. You know, a lot of clients' children have complex trauma histories themselves. Many of them have mental illness or drug and alcohol issues or a disability like an acquired brain injury, for which their parents feel a responsibility to care for them. They worry about who will care for them if they don't. And in Peg's situation, she hoped that things would change, and that's why she wanted to help him.
Yeah, it really is a regular theme that we see where clients will come to us in these abusive situations, but rather than seeking help for themselves, they often plead with us to help their children, seeing this as the resolution to their problem. If they can get their children the help that they need, then maybe the abuse will stop and their relationship can improve. After all that, you still helped him.
I still helped him, where I was saying to my daughters, "No, he done the crime, do the time." "Oh, no, you should help him." I had no idea that it was going to cost that much. I had to borrow $60,000, mortgage my house to help him. And after 5 years, he got out. I did not give any approval of him to come to my property, but back in 2017, that's where it came to. And I had been living a horrible life the past since 2017 till now, from that horrible poem that I've written. I had to move out my own property. My daughters left, started families of their own, and that just left me to put up and watch it all go down.
So he was bailed to your address?
Yeah, well, I didn't even get I cannot remember even saying yes or getting a letter or the police coming. I can't remember that. It just happened. I knew he was getting out, but there was no questions asked if he was allowed to come there. And I thought that's the procedure. I've never been in jail myself. Okay, I've never done a crime. But that's where he came to my address.
And so what happened once he moved in? Can you talk to us a little bit about how things changed and what it was like for you?
Well, he moved in. Of course, I had my family there and I had a nice cake and lovely dinner and everything for him, welcome him back with balloons and everything like a party. You know, you've just done 5 years in maximum. I mean, welcome home, you know. But he was on parole for 4 years after that. So he had to report every day. So Mummy had to drive him there. Mummy did that. He had to apply for his license again, his truck license. Mummy did all that as well. Mummy paid for all that as well. Mummy did everything for him. I honoured him. And he just got back onto that horrible poem.
Yeah, back onto the drugs.
Yep. But I've been told that all the money that I was giving him, inmates, what are they called, inmates, to buy buy-ups. It's called buy-ups. I was putting in $100 a week. And I thought, that's a lot of money. I was going and visiting him. I think I went to 14 jails to visit him. And the vending machines and everything. That all cost money as well. When you're at the visiting, there's nothing for free.
Yeah.
I thought, this is a lot of money. I'm only on the pension, $100 a week. You already owe me over $60,000. I'm going to cut that back to $50. I'm doing the best I can here. It's just been horrific. And I just want it all to stop.
Yeah, of course. So when did it change once he moved in? When did his behaviour start to shift towards you? Was it immediate?
Yeah.
Okay.
It was immediate. Took control immediately.
And what sort of things was he doing? Like taking control of your money or?
Trying to.
Yeah.
Yeah, trying to. Yeah, yeah. Taking control of the whole house. Having lots of his friends coming around. Having sessions in his room. The crack, which is out the glass pipe. In his room, he'd lock it all up. I couldn't get in. It was a big room. Like this, huge. It all started from that. He was just back on it again. So he never got off it.
Yeah.
He never got off it.
And at what point did he kind of force you out of the house?
I left. I walked out. I couldn't stand. I'm asthmatic. I couldn't stand the smell of it. People say it doesn't smell, but I'm telling you it does. My whole house just smelled of chemicals.
Yeah. So you felt like you couldn't stay.
No, it was best for me as an asthmatic to get out of there.
Yeah.
So I went out to my studio. I've got a studio.
Mm.
I even had to pee in a bucket. But it was better for my health and my asthma, because I'm high asthmatic, to get out of there. And I just watched it all go down. It was horrible. It was heartbreaking.
Mm.
He had all the luxuries, and I was paying all the bills, the rates, the tank water, all the electricity bills, all the food, watching people just coming and going to my property that I didn't invite.
So I think we need to highlight at this moment that financial abuse can also look like what Peg is talking about here. It doesn't have to look like thousands of dollars disappearing from bank accounts or money taken out of your wallet, ATM cards being stolen. It can look different.
Exactly. It can look like children not contributing to household bills, them moving back in, adding to your financial burden and leaving you with all the bills while they live rent-free. Or in Peg's case, her son was constantly knocking on her door and demanding money so that he could get drugs. Now, Sasha, tell me, if someone presented to us experiencing elder abuse in this more passive way, what sort of remedies can we use?
Well, and we do see this a lot. Older people may not necessarily notice at the time that their money begins to go missing. So they come to us feeling uncertain about what's happening in their accounts. We talk to them about safeguarding their finances, about safety planning. If they feel like money is missing from their accounts or they're not too sure, we'll often start by requesting documents from their bank and just looking into their accounts for them. What I tend to look for is irregular spending patterns, transactions that they can't really explain, essentially just red flags that are signs of financial abuse. Depending on the nature of what's happened and how, we will then investigate to see whether the bank was at fault in not safeguarding the account from the fraud or alerting the older person. We've had instances where we've actually been able to get the bank to acknowledge fault and return money.
Was he verbally abusive to you? Would he yell, and was he...
He's not very loud, but he would come and ask, and I'd say I haven't got any. Then he would go back into the big house and punch the smart TV. I used to have a big smart TV. I used to.
Yeah, yeah.
2 of them. Gone.
So a lot of intimidation then.
A lot of intimidation.
Yeah, yeah.
A lot of intimidation. And I wouldn't open my screen door.
Yeah.
I would just be talking to him from my studio. I wouldn't let him in.
Yeah. Tell me about the effects of that level of abuse on you physically and emotionally. What did that do to you?
Well, I had a panic attack. I'd start crying all the time. I'd be nervous. Yeah.
So your mental health was obviously affected.
All I did was sleep. I was so tired.
So you had no energy left. Did you experience any other health concern? I know you had surgery during this difficult time.
Yes, well, I had bowel cancer last year.
Okay.
I couldn't walk for 5 months. But I'm on medication now for the rest of my life, which is good. But yeah, all this is all I can say is I'm glad that I got out of that house. It was just hard work. It was just hard work. What, does someone have to die, and take, matters into their own hands, like back in the day? That's how I felt. That was very hard work. This is not Chicago back in 1920,
I was wanting Peg to speak about the way her physical and mental health deteriorated over this time, because people don't always consider the way in which abuse impacts us physically and psychologically.
Yeah, we usually see a lot of people experiencing mental health issues, people coming in and out of hospital, anxiety, panic attacks, fatigue.
Absolutely, Sasha. Actually, there's a lot of work that's been done on the impacts of abuse on a person's mental health and health in general. Often one of the first signs that the person is experiencing elder abuse will be a shift in mood or lack of drive in the things that were previously enjoyable. We may also notice a loss of appetite or the person becoming withdrawn from family and friends. Many of our clients experience anxiety, depression, and suicidal ideation as a direct result of the impact of abuse.
And you mentioned that he was damaging property and stealing things as well. Can you talk to us a little bit about that?
Yeah, I certainly can. Well, that was the last straw. Was when I went down to my garage and I thought, I was shocked. Where are all my mags and wheels? All gone. Just like that. That was the last straw. The next day, I didn't phone Triple Nought the next day because I wouldn't enable him with $400 at midnight. He took my husband's it's my Harley Davidson out, which I have not registered since death of my husband. Took my Harley Davidson out at midnight. It's not good. I'm only in a village. It's disrespectful. And did burnouts on it. Come back the next morning, 7 o'clock, and I went, what have you done to my Harley? You had no right to take my possessions. It's not even registered. It's not insured. Still in my name from years ago. But it's all because I would not enable him.
Yeah.
I'd had enough. So that was the last straw. I dialed Triple Nought because I was fed up with the intimidation, the verbal abuse, enabling, the threats, and isolation.
What happened then?
What happened then? Action begun. I went down to the police station and hours it took because I didn't look like I'd been abused. I had no blood or been assaulted, just mentally. It was hard for me to get help. And then I got onto elderly abuse. I made the call with elderly abuse, which I had to find online, and that's when I made the call. And I've been getting professional help since then. And the domestic violence, what they call the women's advocacy, I got all professional help.
Just to clarify here, when Peg says elderly abuse, she is referring to our service, the Elder Abuse Service. You can contact us on 4324 5611. And when Peg talks about contacting 000, This is a response she's had her whole life, and it's her way of saying that you need to reach out for help. In this instance, the police, particularly an age crime prevention officer, directed Peg to our service, which is the right initial point of contact for these types of matters. Because we are client-focused, we are able to provide the advocacy and social support required to help clients' voices be heard and assist them in understanding their options and their rights.
You said you went to the police station. What sort of happened there?
Well, I went to the front desk and I said, my son's just threatened to burn the house down with me in it. So then he said to me, you go over to the courthouse, and my girlfriend and I walked over there and had to get asked to register for help. I don't know where this senior constable was. She was a godsend. She was somewhere in that courtroom.
Mm-hmm.
She come tap me on the shoulder, call me. You need help.
Right.
That's where it started.
So she's the age crime prevention officer who tapped you on the shoulder and said, here.
She said, call me. And then I called her the next day because I was exhausted. My girlfriend and I were exhausted. And the next morning I called her and then she just kept calling me. And I was just getting worse and worse, just seeing it just wasn't stopping.
Tell us what happened when you saw the constable, the age crime prevention officer, and you went and wrote a letter with support from your friend. Is that right?
Yes, I got a letter asking him to evacuate the property within 21 days. The police told me to do that. Well, that didn't happen. He had no intentions of doing that. So I had to ring 000 again. And then when he went out, and I thought, well, tomorrow you've got to be out of there. So, of course, I handwrote another one and put it under his door. Under the door, you've got to be out of this property, off my property. It's 21 days tomorrow. And he had no intentions of getting out.
And that's when you reached out to us.
Yes.
Yeah. So that letter you're talking about is a notice to vacate. Yeah. And essentially what it does is you're, as the owner of the property, you're telling him he no longer has the right to be there. And if he stays past the amount of time that you've given him, he's trespassing.
Yes.
Yeah. So that's when we kind of jumped in and tried to help speak with the police on your behalf to make sure they went over there to move him out. Wasn't a smooth process though, was it?
It was very hard work.
Yeah.
Sasha, would have took you 4 months to get that order.
Yeah.
Because I didn't look physically abused, they weren't helping.
For many of our clients, Sasha, it takes quite a bit to get to a point where our clients are ready to take that step to get their children out of their home. So what are the legal options for getting adult children out of the house? You mentioned a notice to vacate. What does that mean?
So essentially, as the owner or primary occupier of your home, you've got the legal right to ask anyone to leave. If you don't want someone there, they can't be there. I'm talking specifically in these situations where the child isn't a tenant, they're not paying any rent, they're simply living there and not contributing to the household. They have no legal right to be in the home, even if they've lived there their whole life. It doesn't mean that they can stay. And I think that's what a lot of older people and younger people don't realise. So we utilise a legislation called the Enclosed Lands Act. It's a really ancient piece of legislation that originally was used to deal with cattle and sheep, but more recently it's used to move on people loitering on private property, such as shopping centres and schools. Section 4 of that legislation gives you the right to ask someone to leave your home, and if they don't, it creates a civil trespass, essentially meaning that they will be trespassing if they stay. Section 6 of that legislation then gives the police the power to come and move them on. So when we have a situation like this, where an older person wants their adult child or family member or friend out of the house, we issue this notice to vacate letter and give them a period of time of the older person's choosing to leave. And we then provide a copy of that letter to the police and will advocate for the older person with the police to ensure that if that person hasn't left by the date, then the police will come and move them on.
That sounds like a really empowering process for our clients to go through. I can imagine that some people may get worried about an increase of abuse if they give a letter of eviction to their abusive child. If these concerns arise and a safety plan made with the social worker does not help the client with their concerns, what other options do people have?
Yeah, look, in instances where there has been violence or threats of violence, or the older person is feeling particularly unsafe and at risk with the person in their home, in those instances, we talk to them about taking out an apprehended domestic violence order with the police and asking for exclusion orders to prevent the adult child from being able to enter the home and live in the home. In Peg's instance, while we did initially try issuing the notice to vacate, her situation was in fact serious enough that we thought it necessary to advocate with the police to show the need for an ADVO with exclusion orders. While Peg did have an AVO, it didn't have those orders attached, and we were able to explain additional instances of abuse to the Age Crime Prevention Officer, which led to us supporting Peg to make a revised statement to the police and a new ADVO being issued. So then we went a different approach and we spoke with the police and tried to get a apprehended violence order. Do you want to talk to us a little bit about how that process was for you?
It was hard work.
Yeah.
It was really hard work because all I kept doing was having the police come to my property.
Yeah.
And they kept telling me that they can't, I'm not eligible for it.
Yeah. So I guess from our perspective, you know, you were so strong through all of this, but it was a really difficult process. And, you know, I think there were points where you kind of questioned why it was so hard and, you know, it had taken you so long to get to the point where you were ready to take a stand that it was probably a bit frustrating that it was taking so long to kind of get the outcome you wanted. But you didn't give up, did you?
No, I didn't give up, but I think I honestly feel like he was trying, this is how I felt, trying to make me kill myself, suicide. That's how I felt. And nobody helped. There was no help. And with all the antidepressants I was on, which was a lot, I did a lot of sleeping and I just thought, well, if this is going to be life, I'm done. I've just had enough. But I just kept fighting.
Yeah. Well, we did get there. We got enough there for the AVO. And then I understand you went and with the information I provided, you went down to the police station and gave another statement.
Yes, I did. Yes.
Yep.
She was good.
Yeah, there for a few hours, but got it in.
Yeah.
And then they issued the AVO with
Yes.
exclusion orders, which meant that he had to leave the property. So then when they went out to try to issue it with him, I understand that took a little bit of time as well because he was evading the police for a bit.
Well, it was terrible because I'm outside living in my studio and the police have arrived, so I've had to go down, unchain and unbolt, lock the gates, and there was like 2 police cars, 4 police officers, and I took them into the house and he's locked himself in the bedroom and, you know, like wouldn't come out and talk to them. And they were doing their job as a police officer, protect him. They told me to go. I just took them into the house. I said, go. So I went out and they did their job and bang, 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 eventually got him to open the door. He was in there off his head. Even when he opened the door, there was a heap of smoke come out. And then he started verbally abusing them. But the police officers were very strong because had given them the order that he was to get out, and it was hard work. But he was calling them names and I was outside hiding in the studio. It was just terrible, you know. I didn't even ask for him to come and live with me.
Peg, can you tell me, like, I'm interested, and I think people would be interested to sort of know about the strength that you had to be able to do this, because this is your son, right?
That was hard.
Yeah. You raised him, you've loved him, you want the best for your children. As parents, we want to do everything that we can to support and love our kids. You remortgaged your home to be able to bail him and help him out. And then he comes to your home and you hope, it still sounds like you're hoping for a good outcome for him to be able to change things around. And obviously that wasn't possible for him.
Absolutely not.
And how do you as a parent sort of go, look, I've loved this child, but now I need, and I still love, the love doesn't go away, I'm sure, but there's a strength that you need to get from yourself to be able to go, I can't, as much as I love this person, I can't deal with being hurt and being abused like this every day from my child. How do you get to that point? Because a lot of people that we talk to, really struggle with that, to be able to sort of go, I love this child, I want to look after them, I want the best for them, but I'm going to leave them here even though they're abusing me. It's to my detriment that I will put up with being abused. So how did you find that strength? Where did that come from?
Inner strength. And once you start hurting or doing anything or to my possessions, that was the last straw. Because I'd worked hard from blood, sweat and tears all my life.
Yeah. And I think that's what a lot of people, there might come a time where it's like, this is the line in the
straw.
The straw that breaks it all. Yeah.
It was when you touch my possessions.
Mm-hmm. And the stuff that you've worked really hard for, as you said, all
the
your
TVs
life,
I accepted, the threats and the verbal abuse, trying to burn the house down, eating my food, I'm paying for all your bills.
And I think I heard you say once as well that, this isn't my little boy anymore.
He's a monster.
Yeah.
That was not the little boy. I've got a photo of him, but that was not how I brought him up.
Yeah.
It's the crystal meth. Everybody said to me it's the drugs, and I got fed up with it.
Yeah.
I said, well, if you should only indulge in moderation in anything, have to be in control of yourself. You must be in control.
Yeah.
You have to be strong. But I'm a strong person because I dialed that 000 from the age of 9.
Yeah. Yeah. It taught you that resilience. Yeah.
Exactly. You've just got to have the inner strength and you've just got to fight, because there's no way I was going to kill myself or let him or anybody harm me in any way and have my possessions or my property that I'd worked hard all my life for, which I'm still paying off now.
It is a great message, Peg, reminding people that these are the things you worked hard for, and no one has a right to damage or take them from you. Now, I want to ask you a question based on something that you have spoken about before. I recall you telling us that in the past, you have reached out to friends about what you were going through and how you came to realise that talking to friends is not always enough.
No, look, I did speak out to my friends, but they haven't experienced it. They haven't lived through it, and they don't know how to just sit there and be quiet and listen. I'm trying to unload here. It's called build up. I've only made space. It will never go away. It will never go away in my subconscious. I just make space for all this. It never, ever goes away. You just make space for it.
Yeah.
But you're no good talking to your neighbour or your girlfriend. And that's why I contacted elderly abuse, because that's their job. They're professionals. They're there to help you. And you have to dial 000 and stay online. That is your help.
What would you say to other older people who are going through a similar experience right now and don't feel like they can speak up or reach out for help?
Wow. I'll pray for them. But they have to dial 000 and they have to get help, elderly abuse, because they're professionals. They will help you.
And what if they feel embarrassed or feel like it's their fault or they can't, they shouldn't? What would you tell them?
They shouldn't feel like that. They tried. They did the best they could. There's support. You must pick up the phone and attend all appointments and follow all instructions and pick up that phone when it's got no caller ID. You must answer the phone. Don't hide under the bed or behind the lounge. Answer that phone. It'll come up no caller ID.
And how do you feel now that you did get help? How have things changed for you?
Oh, better now. I know. I just keep ringing. I just keep ringing back up. Well, just keep ringing the police. Just keep ringing people that I know that are professional will help me. I'll fight to the end.
But, you know, you've made that stand. You spent many years kind of living with him there and you realised enough was enough. You did what you had to do.
And I'll fight to the end.
Yeah. Should be really proud of yourself.
Yeah. And I'm so fit, I can run 10 Ks in 2 hours.
Amazing. Things feel better for you now that he's out of the picture.
Oh, yeah. The headache's gone. I'm still paranoid. Still very paranoid.
You've been through a lot.
Yeah. I'm still chaining and padlocking the gates, which I probably will do to the day I die. That's what it's done to me. It scarred me for life. Like I said before, it will never go away. I just make space for it. I've worked hard all my life and no way I'm giving up. So,
and for people out there who think that it couldn't possibly be happening to anyone else, that it's only happening in their home, what would you tell them?
You've just got to give it up. You've just got to stop enabling. Think of yourself.
It's a great message.
It is. You've got to think of yourself because they don't.
Yeah, there's a strong message there in protecting yourself and reaching out for help.
You're worth it.
You are worth it.
You're worth it. You're worth it.
Absolutely.
You're worth it.
It's been really beautiful, I guess, to see the way that you've just, the change from the first time we met you to now. You're just full of all this life and confidence, and it's been a really kind of natural and, just beautiful progression to see the way that you've really come into yourself and the way that you're kind of talking and sitting and just smiling right now is really lovely. So
thank you. And I will help anyone in need out of love. Out of love.
Well, I know you've been a strong advocate recently as well, and you've led the march
Yes.
in your local area where you live for the domestic violence walk and the marches. So it sounds like, having all that extra support, reaching out to the different services that you've reached out to and being in touch with them has, also fueled that already natural resilience that you had. And, now you're empowered and empowering others in what you're doing here today.
Oh, thank you.
Being out in those marches and talking to people about your experience is just profound.
Well, being the leader of the pack, don't forget to put that. Leader of the pack at the International Women's Week. My sign, I did myself, not afraid. Not afraid. That's what I had. I'm not afraid. They're all behind me. I was the leader of the pack of them all.
Yeah.
Yeah, and, it's just how it was. And I'm just full of it now, and I'll fight to the end for anyone in need. For any woman, any child, anyone in need. I just will not tolerate it anymore.
I guess I just wanted to know, before we wrap up, was there any part of the process that worked particularly well for you? Like, was there anything that was like, yep, this is it. This is what's working for me. I'm so happy I reached out. Was there any point for you that made that stand out for you?
Apart from dialing 000 and then finding elderly abuse, and they said to me, there's one in Newcastle. I said, where's the head office? That's where I reached out to. I'll do the drive. You don't have to. I said, yes, I will. I don't want to deal with small fries. Where's the head office? Straight to the top. You just have to have the guts and courage. Be ruthless and no filter, I guess. I can remember coming down here yelling at you. I was totally out of control. I felt better. But now I can actually sit there and calmer now.
Yeah.
And I'm not even crying, which is good. Yeah, make the call. That's all. 000, elderly abuse, DV, open arms, with the army. I was in that as well, my father. They're all help. They're all professional help that will help you.
Yeah. All right. Well, is there anything else you wanted to share with us? Any other message you want to get out? Or do you feel like you've covered it all?
Get professional help. Encourage others.
Well, I'm so glad that you made that drive down to meet with us that day. Amazing.
Yeah.
Inspirational
Incredible
Kim.
story.
Thank you. Well, I hope I help some others, and if they can't speak, give us a call. I'll speak on their behalf.
I hope you got something out of today too.
Yeah, I have. I haven't even shed a tear yet.
Yeah.
Which is good. So that's how strong I am.
Yeah.
Now. Before I'd cry all the time, oh, poor me, poor me, poor me. But no, not now.
Yeah.
I'll fight to the end.
Thank you so much, Peg, for sharing your story with us today. I hope that other people have been able to take something from this. And if you or anyone that you know is experiencing or at risk of elder abuse and anything that we've said today might resonate, please don't hesitate to reach out to us and know that support is available. Even if you just want that initial conversation to know your options, we're more than happy to chat with you and get you to a point where you might be ready to take that next step.